everyone, this is Crafty Decoria and I hope you're all doing great. So today's Dollar Tree craft with me is dedicated to the Dollar Tree pumpkin wire wreath form. When I saw these, I knew that I wanted to do something with them for the fall season. I feel like I'm a little bit behind in doing something with these wreath forms, but nevertheless, I did want to do some up in different styles. So today I will be making 3 pumpkins using the pumpkin wreath form. And if you care to see what I do with the wreath form, then keep on watching. Okay guys, so starting with pumpkin number 1. Now I'm making another centerpiece, this time for my kitchen table. So the items that I have in front of me here are all from Dollar Tree, with the exception of this Ultra Cover 2x Rust-Oleum spray paint that is in the satin heirloom white. Again, I did get this at my local dollar store for $3.99, so I just prefer to use the paint and primer as it always adheres so nicely to the item that I'm spraying. But if you wanted to keep it all Dollar Tree, just go ahead. Dollar Tree has the acrylic paint. I would just recommend that you sand your piece beforehand and that you seal it with a Mod Podge, which you can also pick up at Dollar Tree. I have my pumpkin wire wreath form. I have this garden dish. It is the plastic one. I have a craft floral foam, the white one here. I will be using an LED light for this centerpiece. I have 3 of the bamboo cutting boards, and then I have these napkin rings, which you get 2 in a package. They are by Craft Medley, again from Dollar Tree, and I'm only using these because they are already in a wood finish and I just want to leave it wood. But if you can't find those, then you can definitely pick up these alphabet blocks that the Dollar Tree carries. These are very cost effective to use these, as you probably would be using 6 and then you'd have 3 left over, and then you could always go ahead and paint them with acrylic paint or spray paint them with a black, which is what I would have done if I didn't find the napkin ring holders. I would have spray painted them with a black paint and primer in a flat finish. But I will be using the napkin rings, and other than that, I will be using some florals or some leaves to decorate this. I'm really not quite sure, but whatever I use, it will also be from Dollar Tree. So without further ado, let's get to making this first centerpiece. Okay guys, so when the DIYs started coming out for this pumpkin wire wreath form, I knew that some really great DIYs would be made. Now I wanted to do something with this wire pumpkin wreath form, since I am a little bit late, a little bit differently. Now perhaps this has already been done. I've not watched every DIY using these wire form wreaths, so forgive me if this has already been done, but I honestly just decided to come up with this idea and make some DIYs. So with all 3 of the DIYs, I'm going to be doing something to this wire, this pumpkin wire wreath form. I'm going to be bending it so that it makes the shape of a whole pumpkin so that it can stand by itself. So all I'm going to do is taking each end, I'm just going to bring them together. So here I have my 2 ends touching. Now it's not going to stay that way. There is going to be a gap, but definitely if you wanted your pumpkin to stay completely closed, you could, just that you're gonna have it more open in the front, which is fine. But even if you leave it open in the back, it still is going to stand up on its own. Now it does, this one here does roll back because the front here actually snapped, but that's still okay, because whatever way I'm using this pumpkin, it will be glued down to a surface, so it's not gonna roll around. So once you've done that, then you could just spread your wires out to fill a larger gap if you want, or if you want to leave the gap a little bit larger, that's fine too. Okay, so there you can see it's just standing up on its own. So that is the one thing that I will be doing to all three of these pumpkins for each DIY. Okay, so I just took a blanket here so that you could see the form a little bit better. I know filming on this black and white buffalo check isn't always the greatest when you're working with wire wreath forms, because you can't really see it that well, and I wanted you to be able to see the shape better. So you can see it is rounded. I just straightened or played around with the wires so that I get a fuller look. And of course, the stem of the pumpkin is at the front of the pumpkin, but that's okay because we know that there are pumpkins in all shapes and sizes. So now what I already went ahead and did was I took one that I already shaped outside and I spray painted it in the heirloom white so that I would be ahead for the DIY. So there you can see it's all spray painted. Now we will move on to the next step. Okay, so my pumpkin is going to be sitting on these bamboo cutting boards. Now I've laid them down this way because I want my space where I can add some extra decor to be longer, and since my table is a longer table, then I decided to lay them this way. But definitely if you want, you can also arrange the cutting boards this way and glue them together if you have a shorter table. So once I take my E6000 glue and glue these cutting boards together, I also will be using my hot glue. I'm going to take some gigantic craft sticks, just some extra ones that I had on hand, and to the back I'm going to add these at the seams, glue them down at the seams to keep the cutting boards together. Now I didn't include this in the list of items because you may have things laying around the house, extra scrap pieces of whatever, that you can just glue to the back of the cutting boards to keep the cutting boards secured together. Even if you have a cereal box, you can cut that up and then just lay it down, glue it on the back of the cutting boards, and that's going to keep your cutting boards together. So you can use whatever you want for this part. So once I've glued my cutting boards together and my craft sticks on the back, we'll move on to the next. Going to glue down my napkin rings. Again, these are by Craft Medley from Dollar Tree. They are natural wood and you get 2 in a package. I have 3 packages because I want 6 legs, 2 on each end and then 2 in the center. I'm just going to use my hot glue to glue this down, and quite honestly, if you decide to make this project, I wouldn't bother with the E6000 glue, because when you add the E6000 glue and then the hot glue, it kind of leaves a little bit of gap where the E6000 glue is, so the hot glue works just fine using that alone. Now again, if you cannot find these little napkin rings, I would go ahead and use the alphabet blocks, and then I would just paint them up to cover up the letters. Now I am ready to glue down my pumpkin and my garden dish. So all I've done is I've placed my pumpkin on the center bamboo cutting board. I've just centered it to the little napkin ring holder underneath. And I'm gonna add some hot glue, or here I probably will use E6000 glue just to keep it on there nice and strong. And then I'm just going to place it inside of the pumpkin and then let that dry. Now really, I don't have to glue my pumpkin down because my pumpkin will stay in place because of that garden dish. But if you want to glue down a little bit on your pumpkin as well, you can do that also. I'm just about ready to dress this centerpiece up for fall. But before that, all I have left to do is just add my floral foam to the inside. Now I'm not gluing this down because I want to be able to change out the foam. And also, I may not want to use the foam. I may just want to place one of the Dollar Tree glass vases in the center and then add filler and light to that. Or I may just even want to use it as like a little fruit bowl if I'm adding smaller fruit in there, some plums or peaches or whatever it may be. I want this centerpiece to be versatile. Now, if I am adding fruit, I really can clean this very easily, but I probably would just put some wax paper just to help me in keeping it cleaner and easier to clean once I have used it for that purpose. But so I'm just going to place my foam in there, and it's not going to go anywhere because the garden bowl is keeping the foam nicely in place. And then what I'll do is I'll just place my LED candle on top and then take my flowers and start adding them to the floral foam. This way I know how much room I need to leave for my LED candle. And that's it. So let me go ahead, dress this up, and show you how pretty it looks as a centerpiece on top of my kitchen table. Okay guys, so here is pumpkin number 1, and here is my kitchen table centerpiece, which I absolutely love. Now in the back here, I just draped a blanket over my chairs so that you'd be able to see the wire pumpkin because the sun is just beaming through, which is beautiful, but it just makes it a little harder to see the centerpiece. So that's why that blanket is behind. But how pretty is this? And I just love how these pumpkins sit up on their own. I only glued down the garden bowl, so my pumpkin is loose. If I wanted to remove it, I definitely could, but it stays nicely in place without me having to glue it down. So I added some beautiful florals and leaves to my centerpiece, and then on the bottom, because these are raised, which by the way I love because it still allows me to place little pumpkins and gourds underneath, but I went ahead and took some of these flowers off of their stems and just tucked them around the floral foam. How pretty is that? And then on each side of the pumpkin, I added 2 of the Dollar Tree wall decor boxes, the hanging ones. So this one on the right says Autumn Blessings, and then to the left, Be Grateful and Give Thanks. And I love how the oranges and the greens and the white and the cream all blend nicely together. I absolutely love this centerpiece. And then of course the napkin ring holders make the perfect little feet for this piece. I, again, love it. I hope you guys do too. Moving on to pumpkin DIY number 2. Again, all items are from Dollar Tree. So the first thing is the pumpkin wreath form. I have a plastic garden dish, a charger, and I'm using the one that is in like the copper color. I don't know if it's rose gold or copper. It seems more copper to me. So, but you could use any charger you want if you decide to make this. I have the Forever in Time stickers. These are called the clear stickers. I have these natural bark by Craft Decor, some Mod Podge in a gloss finish, and my E6000 glue. And that's it. So without further ado, let's jump into this DIY. I hope you enjoy. Okay, so I'm gonna start off the DIY working on my charger. So I will be using my stickers to spell out at the bottom of the charger, Sweet Fall Y'all. And I first will apply my Mod Podge, then my stickers. Once that's dried a bit, I will apply some more Mod Podge over top to seal and protect my letters on the charger. I'm ready to use my pumpkin wire wreath. So with this DIY, I'm going to do the same thing as I did to the first one. In the first DIY, I'm going to hold the pumpkin wreath at both ends, and then I'm going to gently turn them in until both ends are touching in the back. And that makes the shape of the pumpkin. So here you can see it is now rounded. Okay, so once you have your shape, you can play around with the wires to make the pumpkin look the way you want it to. Just be very careful when you're moving these wires because they can snap, but that happened to one of my pumpkins and I just used my hot glue to glue it back in place. So now I'm ready to take my natural bark by Craft Decor, and I'm just going to hot glue my pieces onto the wire pieces. Okay, so it's a good idea to lay down some newspaper to catch any glue that drips off. And once you have your pieces in place, then you can go on the inside, so underneath the bark, and then add some more hot glue to make sure that that bark stays in place. So I thought I would just stop at this point to show you what I have on my pumpkin so far with the bark. And it is looking very rustic and I love it. Now I'm not going to continue filming me gluing the pieces on the wire because I will say that this is time consuming, only because you have to wait for the glue to dry before you can move on to your next piece. But a tip that I will give you if you decide you want to make this is when you take your piece of bark, add your hot glue and then let it sit. Don't put it on the wire right away because it's hot and it's just going to slide all over the wire. Even if you blow on it a little bit, it'll make the glue a little bit more firm. This way, when you put it in place, it's going to stay where you put it. Now hold it still, and then I would turn it so that you can add some glue to the inside of the pumpkin. Here you can see that I've added quite a bit of glue. I wish I did have the clear glue sticks, but I probably will end up just taking some Dollar Tree acrylic paint and painting over that glue to camouflage it into the bark. But that makes it so much easier to put the bark on the wire, or else you're gonna find that it's sliding everywhere and you probably will burn yourself in the process as well. So I thought I would just share that little tip. Now I'm gonna go ahead, continue gluing on the bark, and when you see me again, the pumpkin will be fully covered in the bark. Okay guys, so all I have left to do, which I did, I took my candy and I filled up my garden bowl here. Now if you want, you can glue the pumpkin to the charger to have it secured on there, but I'm not going to do that because I want this piece to be functional. If I want to take my pumpkin and display it somewhere else, then I can do that. If I want to just place a candle on the charger with some floral around it, I can do that. Or if I want to place a candle on the inside of the pumpkin and then just not have the candy in there, I can do that as well. This way I can change things out, and also when I'm storing this away, then I can store them separately so that it saves on space. So now I'm going to go ahead, add the candy inside of the pumpkin and show you how adorable this piece looks for fall. So here is my wooden pumpkin candy dish sweet fall y'all decor piece, and I love it. I am so glad this turned out as it did, because at first when I was gluing the wooden bark on, I almost thought it wasn't going to stay together, but honestly, after I glued the wooden pieces on, I went ahead from the inside and added some more hot glue, and this piece is pretty solid. So once I added that glue, of course on the inside there was a ton of hot glue showing. I just went ahead and took my Dollar Tree brown acrylic paint and painted up that glue, and now no one will be the wiser. And I absolutely love this. So again, I did not glue anything down so that I can take it apart if I want to add my pumpkin somewhere else in the house, or if I want to remove the candy dish and add a candle with some florals, I definitely can do that. And it's going to stay in place because the candy dish is keeping it in place. Now, for those of you who wouldn't want to use this as a pumpkin, as I was putting it together, this also reminds me of a big, huge brown spider. So if you want, you definitely could add some either little googly eyes or to the stem of the pumpkin, and this would be a huge spider guarding the candy. So there's another way that you could definitely use this piece, if not as a pumpkin. But I absolutely love it. It was another way to add a little bit of rustic to my room here. This is the pedestal I normally have in this area, but it does usually have the glass on top so I can place baked goods, little treats inside, but I just removed the glass and decided to add this pumpkin again just to change it up, and I absolutely love it. I hope you guys do as well. For the last of the 3 DIYs using the pumpkin wreath form, the items that you will need are again all from Dollar Tree. So I have this black cauldron. I have some Dollar Tree maple leaves. This is a pack of 50. I have the ornament ball marker, the LED push light. I already used this, so I'm just going to repurpose it. That's why it's not in the package, but you can pick them up at Dollar Tree. And then of course the pumpkin wire wreath form. And then I will be using my hot glue, and that should be everything. So let's get into this last DIY. Okay, so to start off the DIY, I'm going to shape this pumpkin from half a pumpkin to a full pumpkin, just like I did in the other 2 DIYs. So you just take it on both ends of the wire wreath form, and then you're just going to pull it or just bend it so that the 2 ends are touching, and then you will have a full pumpkin that can stand up on its own. So now I'm going to take my leaves, and one by one I'm going to start gluing them, first on the wire, and then once they have covered all the wires, then I will continue gluing them so that the leaves are completely touching until my pumpkin is fully covered with these leaves. about ready to finish this piece off. So here is my pumpkin, all with the leaves covering the pumpkin. Now I did leave an opening in the back, so that way I can place some lights on the inside to light this up at nighttime. And all I did was I just made a little ledge with the leaves, but definitely you could put a piece of cardboard and then cover it with leaves to make it even stronger. But it's gonna work fine for my LED light. But definitely if I wanna add more lights in there and I wanna extend this piece at the bottom, then I definitely can. So this is going to be glued on to the cauldron there. And then there's my stem. I just took one of the green leaves and then just wrapped it around the stem. I think it's super cute. But this is going to be glued onto the cauldron. But before I can do that, I need to write a little something on the front. Well, that was my original intention. And I was just gonna use the ornament ball marker from Crafter Square from Dollar Tree. But my original plan was I just wanted to print something off and then Mod Podge it onto the pot. But my printer was not working at the time, so it is now. So I just took an image and then made it to the size that I wanted. And this one here says autumn leaves and pumpkins, please. So I just thought this would be super cute to add to the front, since this is a pumpkin covered in autumn leaves. Now, if you wanted to just take the ornament ball marker and then freehand that on there, if you have a stencil, if you want to print something off your computer and then transfer that onto the cauldron here, you can do that as well. But I just decided to do it this way now. I have some Mod Podge. I'm going to add it to the cauldron first. I then will place my piece of paper on top, and then once that's dried up a bit, I'll go ahead and add some more Mod Podge. And this is from the Dollar Tree as well, and I have it in the matte finish. So the last thing that I did was I just took my pumpkin, I sat it on top of the cauldron, and then in little areas where the pumpkin was touching the cauldron, I just added glue on the inside so that the pumpkin is adhered to the cauldron. And being that this pumpkin is lightweight, it really does not take that much glue to keep the pumpkin on top of the cauldron. So that's it. Now let me go ahead and show you what this pumpkin looks like complete and then lit up. Okay guys, so here is DIY pumpkin number 3, and I am not exaggerating when I tell you that I absolutely love this piece. It is just glorious. If you have a window, if you are making this, that you can place this pumpkin in front of, and it is a sunny day as it is today, and I can tell you that the camera is not doing this pumpkin justice. It is just so beautifully colored. Every color is coming out so vibrant. I wish it was picking it up on the camera. It just isn't. So you're gonna have to make it for yourself to actually believe it. But it is just so beautiful. And the great thing about this is that you can enjoy this just as much during the day as you do at night when it is all lit up. So I'm just going to let a few hours go by, and once it does get dark outside, I will light this up and show you how beautiful it is once it is lit. But honestly, in the sun, this is just as beautiful. It is a really wonderful, inexpensive fall decor piece that is cozy and colorful and inviting that you can add to your space. And it was all from the Dollar Tree. Okay guys, and here is the pumpkin all lit up. And again, it's really not picking up on the camera how bright it is. So what I did was I also added a wire LED light set from the Dollar Tree. And this way you can see it just a little bit better. But how beautiful is that? And my goodness, when the lights are off, it just gives such a cozy, warm feel looking at this pumpkin. Well, this is definitely a DIY that I am so glad that I took the time to complete, because it adds a beautiful warmth to my home, and really it doesn't look cheap. It looks almost like a stained glass pumpkin. Well guys, that will do it for these Dollar Tree DIYs, and I really hope that you enjoyed them. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up, share the video if you can, it greatly helps my channel. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, I would absolutely love and appreciate it if you did. As always guys, you take care of yourselves, and I hope to catch you in my next video. Bye guys.